Welcome to Daily Dreamer, the podcast that provides practical tips and insights to help you reach your biggest dreams. Tune in for daily doses of motivation, inspiration, and actionable advice to turn your aspirations into reality. Whether you're looking to find clarity, boost your confidence, or stay on track with your goals, Daily Dreamer is here to guide you every step of the way.
All right, let's kick off another deep dive. Today, we're going deep into unlocking your potential.
Okay, sounds good.
And we're doing it with the mindset mentor himself, Rob Dial.
Rob Dial.
Pulling some awesome insights from his interview on the Jay Shetty Podcast.
That was a good one. I listened to that one.
Yeah, it's really interesting. You know, Rob's story is so inspiring. He goes from crushing it in sales to helping others crush their goals.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, right? That whole idea of like rewriting your story, kind of tapping into something bigger. It's pretty cool.
It's a real life example of that.
It is.
And what I thought was particularly interesting is how his journey took a real turn.
Oh, yeah.
After his sister found their late father's letters.
Oh, wow.
And imagine finding that message from the past.
Oh, I can't even imagine.
Simply saying, live with courage, love, and laughter.
Wow.
And just have it completely change the course of your life.
Oh, that sends chills down my spine. That's powerful.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes the simplest messages are the most powerful ones.
Totally.
And those messages can be the spark to ignite a whole new chapter in our lives.
Yeah, for sure. So are we ready to jump in and kind of extract some of these strategies that can help us get past our fears and unlock our true potential?
Absolutely. Let's tackle those fears head on. I mean, we all have them.
Oh, yeah.
Those anxieties, those doubts that creep in when we're trying to reach for something more. But Rob has this really empowering way of reframing fear.
Okay.
Where he talks about this difference between primal fears.
Right.
The ones that are hardwired for survival.
Right, like fight or flight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then these intellectual fears.
Okay.
Which are these self-created monsters in our minds.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like most of the things that are holding us back
Yeah.
aren't actual saber-toothed tigers. They're just these shadows.
Right.
We cast ourselves.
Yeah.
But the thing is, our body reacts to those imagined threats.
Oh, totally.
As if they were real, that whole mind-body connection.
That's what Rob was explaining. Like, he was saying that when we visualize negative outcomes, our bodies can actually trigger those stress responses as if those events were happening in real time.
Yeah, that's both fascinating.
It's wild.
And terrifying.
It is a little terrifying.
That our minds have that power to create.
They do.
Our own reality.
They really do.
But what if we flip that and use that power for good?
Well, and that's exactly what he suggests. He's like, look, if we're going to spend time imagining the worst, why not dedicate that same energy to visualizing the best possible outcome?
I like that.
And letting our body kind of, bask in those positive emotions too.
So it's not just positive thinking.
No.
We're training our brain and our body.
You've got it.
For success.
You're rewiring your system.
Rewiring.
Yeah.
It's like fake it till you make it, but
fake it till you become it.
think it until you become it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it all starts with awareness, recognizing those intellectual fears. Then it comes to practice, consistently challenging those negative thoughts.
Yeah.
And then just repetition. You're building a muscle. The more you do it, the stronger it gets.
Like anything else.
And he actually shared this story about how he overcame some of his own judgmental thoughts by literally transforming them into acceptance just through this process.
So he's really walking the walk.
Yeah, he is.
But even with the best mindset tools,
yeah,
sometimes we get stuck in a rut, right?
Yeah.
Procrastination.
Oh, the dreaded procrastination.
Yeah, anybody.
But you know what? Raib actually has a solution for that too.
Okay.
And it boils down to the power of why.
Okay.
And he, to illustrate this, he uses this pretty dramatic example. He's like, imagine the chances of you making $1 million.
Okay.
Now imagine those chances skyrocketing to 100% if your loved ones' lives depended on it.
Okay, so up the stakes.
Up the stakes.
Yeah.
So it's not about comparing your goals to these, life or death scenarios.
Right.
But it's really about uncovering the deep-seated reasons behind what you want to achieve. And Rob actually shared how his first coach would relentlessly drill him with the question, why?
Why?
Because a strong enough why will inevitably reveal the how.
It's like that aha moment.
Yeah.
When you realize It's not about the goal itself. It's what that goal represents
Exactly.
in your life.
Precisely.
And it reminded me of that story that he told about his coaching client
Oh, yeah.
who originally wanted to make $100,000.
Yeah.
But after some digging, he realized what he really wanted was to provide safety and security for his family.
Right. That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
So it's a reminder that sometimes our initial goals, they're just surface level. The real magic happens when we dig a little bit deeper and connect with the emotional core that drives us. And it makes me wonder, what's your most repeated thought? The one that plays on a loop in your mind? Is it pushing you forward or is it holding you back? It's worth reflecting on, because those thoughts, they become our reality.
Ooh, I like that. It's like taking inventory
Totally.
of our mental landscape,
Yeah,
seeing what seeds we're planting in the garden of our minds.
for sure.
Speaking of our inner landscape, let's venture into the more spiritual side
Okay.
of Rob's journey. And this may not resonate with everyone,
Sure.
but I found it incredibly insightful.
Okay.
He talked about this idea of filling that void within ourselves.
Yeah.
Not through external achievements or validation, but really through introspection
Right.
and connecting with our true selves.
And challenging ourselves to look inward for that fulfillment rather than seeking it externally.
It's like he's saying, hey, instead of scrolling through Instagram
Right.
or chasing that next dopamine hit,
Yeah.
why not spend some time with yourself?
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Get to know the person that resides within.
I like that. It's kind of radical, but it makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
It does. And he also shared these two intriguing videos about animal behavior.
Okay.
One about a polar bear, and then another one about an impala. Interesting.
As analogies for releasing pent-up trauma and stress.
Okay, now I'm curious about these animals. What happens in these videos?
So the polar bear, after being tranquilized, has this convulsion,
Okay.
almost as if it's like purging all those stress hormones.
Oh, wow.
And the impala, after this near-death experience with a jaguar,
Oh, my gosh.
does something very similar.
So they're shaking it off.
Yeah, it's like they instinctively know how to shake off that trauma and reset.
So what's the takeaway for us?
Well, I mean, I don't think we need to go out and get chased by a jaguar.
I was going to say, are we supposed to go get chased by a jaguar?
Yeah, not exactly. But, his point is that we can learn from nature's wisdom.
Okay.
We, too, can find healthy ways to move through and release these intense emotions, whether that's through, physical activity, creative expression, contemplative practices like meditation. It's whatever works for you.
So it's not about bottling up
No.
or letting it fester. We've got to release it. Totally. And he even suggested that we need to have, adult temper tantrums.
Adult temper chant.
Adult temper tantrums in a safe space as a way to kind of let those emotions out.
So instead of suppressing, we need to express it.
We need to express it. It's about giving ourselves permission to experience that full spectrum of human emotions without judgment or shame.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
It's pretty liberating.
It is.
But all this talk about connecting with ourselves and finding inner peace
Yeah.
makes it sound like we need to detach from the world to achieve it. But Rob made it clear.
Yeah.
That's not what he's advocating.
Not at all. He's not suggesting that we become hermits living in caves. It's about finding that balance
Between
the inner and the outer,
Yeah.
pursuing success
Yeah.
while also nurturing our inner peace.
So we could be ambitious
Yes.
and driven
Yes.
while also being grounded and centered.
Exactly.
And he even admitted he still enjoys material things
Yeah.
and experiences.
Yeah.
Just approaches it
From a different place now.
from a different place.
Yeah, he's found that sweet spot between effort and ease, striving and allowing.
He had a really insightful analogy.
Oh, tell me about it.
He said that personal development is like a cup
Okay.
that he filled to the brim,
Right.
but then he discovered spiritual development.
Yeah.
It's like finding a bucket.
A whole bucket.
Right.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder, who are we beyond our thoughts and emotions and experiences?
That is the question, isn't it?
Yeah.
That is the question. And you know what? His insights on this topic are incredibly thought-provoking.
Okay.
I'm ready.
I think you're going to like this.
Lead on me.
All right. So he talked about this idea of detaching from the idea of the physical body and connecting to the soul.
Okay.
So imagine your soul as this unchanging essence of who you are at your core. And Rob really believes that when you can tap into that deeper self, you can tap into a wellspring of peace.
So we're shifting from I am this body.
To I have a body. To I have a body.
Yeah.
which is a pretty mind-blowing concept.
It is mind-blowing.
And it connects with that Eastern philosophy of oneness that we were talking about earlier.
It does.
That idea of interconnectedness.
Yeah.
Being part of something much bigger than ourselves.
Yes. But here's where it gets even more interesting. He doesn't just stop at oneness. He brings in this concept of duality.
Okay.
The recognition that we're also these unique individuals
Right.
with our own distinct experiences.
Yeah.
And then he blows our minds by suggesting that we embrace both simultaneously.
Okay, so both.
It's not either.
Both.
It's yes and.
For sure. Yep.
It's this approach to understanding ourselves and the world around us.
Okay, that's profound.
It is.
It is.
And it reflects his approach to personal growth, too. He talks about accepting and even loving all parts of himself, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
He's not trying to suppress or deny any part of himself.
No, he's integrating it all
But to integrate it.
into a whole, authentic being. And it reminds us that true personal growth isn't about becoming some idealized version of ourselves.
Right.
It's about embracing who we truly are, flaws and all.
And what I thought was really interesting is that he even learned how to harness the power of his ego
Okay.
and using that ambition and desire for success to fuel his creative endeavors.
So he's turning his perceived weaknesses into strengths.
Yeah, it's like, hey, even those parts of ourselves
Yeah,
we might consider negative can be used for good
exactly.
when we approach them with awareness and intention.
And when we're talking about intention, it's important to remember that Rob really emphasizes stillness and silence in navigating this journey of self-discovery. He reminds us that it's in those quiet moments when we disconnect from the noise of the world that we can connect with our inner wisdom and receive guidance.
We need to create those pockets of silence
Absolutely.
for our inner voice to speak.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to be, hours spent on a porch like Rob. It could be, 5 minutes of meditation in the morning, a walk in nature without your phone. It's really just carving out some time each day to just be still and listen.
But as we're cultivating that inner peace, it's also important to remember that personal growth isn't about escaping the world or our desires. It's about finding that healthy balance.
Finding a balance.
A way to engage with the world in a way that feels aligned
Yes.
and authentic.
Yes.
It's like he's saying, we don't have to choose between success and inner peace.
No.
Ambition and contentment. We can have both.
We can have both. And his story about finding his father's letters, in that moment of self-doubt, it's such a beautiful reminder that we're not alone in this journey.
Not alone.
Yeah.
And it's like the universe or whatever higher power you believe in is always conspiring to support us.
Absolutely.
Even when we can't see it.
Even when we can't see it. And that message, courage, love, and laughter that his father shared, that is such a powerful guiding principle for life.
It is. It's a reminder to approach life with an open heart, a playful spirit, and the courage to pursue our dreams. Speaking of reminders, it's time to revisit Jay Shetty's rapid-fire final 5 questions.
All right, let's do it.
So, best advice he's ever received.
Everything is your fault. Now, I know that sounds a little harsh,
It does sound harsh.
but when you really think about it, it's about taking ownership, recognizing we have the power.
To shape our experiences.
Exactly. And worse advice,
Okay.
fit in with everybody else.
Oh no. Be yourself.
Be yourself. And his most repeated thought,
What is it?
I'm proud of you.
Oh.
Such a beautiful affirmation.
It's so simple.
So simple yet so profound.
And it makes you think, what would our lives look like if we all practiced that kind of self-compassion?
It's a powerful question. Okay, how about the habit that changed his life?
What is it?
Meditation and breath work.
There it is.
These practices that cultivate presence,
Yeah.
reduce stress.
Enhance well-being.
Absolutely.
And finally, the law he would create for the world.
5 minutes of daily self-awareness practice.
5 minutes.
Just 5 minutes. A call to action reminding us of the transformative potential of mindfulness and introspection.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive this has been. Rob has given us so much to think about. From reframing fear,
Yes.
harnessing the power of our why,
It's so powerful.
embracing our true selves, finding that balance
That balance, that's key.
between the inner and outer worlds.
He showed us that it's possible to achieve success and prioritize our well-being at the same time.
It doesn't have to be one or the other, and that the journey of self-discovery
Yeah.
is ongoing, and we have the power to create a life
We do.
that feels aligned, authentic, and fulfilling.
And as we kind of emerge from this deep dive, we encourage you to reflect on these insights and think about how you can apply them to your own life. What steps can you take today to connect with yourself more deeply, cultivate greater presence and peace, and create a life that truly reflects your values and your aspirations?
Until next time, fellow deep divers,
Keep exploring
keep growing.
and keep diving deep.
We'll see you soon.
It's a question that's fascinated philosophers and spiritual seekers for centuries.
Yeah, it has.
And it's one that Rob's been exploring on his own journey. And his insights are really thought-provoking.
Well, I'm all ears. What does he have to say about uncovering that true self?
Well, he talks about detaching from the idea of the physical body and connecting to the soul,
Okay.
that unchanging essence of who we are at our core.
Oh, okay.
And he believes when we can tap into that deeper self, we tap into a wellspring of peace and we experience life more fully.
So we're shifting from identifying with the temporary
To connecting with the eternal.
to connecting with the eternal.
Yeah.
That idea really resonates with me.
It's like stepping outside of the drama of our everyday lives
Yeah.
and tapping into something much larger, more expansive.
Absolutely. And it ties into that concept of oneness we were talking about.
It does.
Being part of this larger web of existence.
But remember, he also highlights the importance of duality,
Yeah.
recognizing that we're also unique individuals
Right.
with our own distinct experiences. And so he suggests it's not about choosing one over the other,
But both.
but holding both oneness and difference.
So that, yes, and.
Yes, and.
Approach again.
Right. It's about embracing the paradox, the idea that we can be both individual drops in the ocean and the ocean itself.
Mind-boggling, but in a beautiful way.
Right. It reflects his approach to personal growth as well.
Right.
He talks about how he's come to accept and even love all parts of himself, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
He's not trying to suppress or deny any part of himself.
No, but rather to integrate it all into a whole authentic being.
And it's so empowering.
Right.
It gives us permission to do the same thing.
It does.
To embrace all aspects of ourselves, flaws and all.
Flaws and all.
What I also thought was really interesting is how he's even learned to harness the power of his ego, using that ambition and desire for success to fuel his creative endeavors.
So he's recognizing that those parts of ourselves that we might consider negative can actually be assets.
It's like turning those perceived weaknesses
Yeah.
into superpowers.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
When channeled in a positive direction. And it's important to remember that Rob emphasizes stillness and silence in this journey of self-discovery.
Right.
He reminds us that it's in those quiet moments, when we disconnect from the noise of the world, that we can really connect with our inner wisdom and get that guidance.
So we need to create those pockets of silence
Absolutely.
to allow our inner voice to speak.
To speak. And it doesn't have to be hours like Rob.
Right.
It could be 5 minutes in the morning,
Yeah.
a walk in nature
Without your phone.
without your phone,
Right.
or even carving out some time just to be still and listen.
But as we cultivate that inner peace, it's important to remember that personal growth isn't about escaping the world or our desires. It's about finding a healthy balance.
A balance?
A way to engage with the world in a way that feels aligned and authentic.
Right.
It's like he's saying, we don't have to choose between success and inner peace.
Right.
Or ambition and contentment.
Right.
We can have both.
We'd have both. And his story about finding his dad's letters,
Oh, yeah.
in that moment of self-doubt is a beautiful reminder that we're not alone on this journey.
Not alone. It's like the universe or whatever higher power you believe in is always conspiring to support us.
Absolutely.
Even when we can't see it.
Even when we can't see it. And that message, courage, love, and laughter.
Yes.
That's a powerful guiding principle.
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to approach life with an open heart and a playful spirit and the courage to pursue those dreams.
Absolutely.
Speaking of reminders, it's time to revisit Jay Shetty's rapid fire final 5 questions.
Oh, I love this part.
I know. These are so good. They distill so much wisdom into these little nuggets.
They do.
Okay. Best advice he's ever received.
Everything is your fault. Yeah. And I know it sounds a little harsh, but it's about taking ownership, recognizing that we have the power to shape our experiences.
Okay, that's about as empowering as it gets.
It is.
It's like we're not victims of circumstance.
They're creators.
We're creators of our own reality. What about the worst advice he's ever gotten?
Fit in with everybody else.
No. Be yourself.
Be yourself, exactly.
And his most repeated thought.
I'm proud of you.
Ugh.
The beautiful affirmations.
So simple.
Simple yet profound.
Makes you think.
It does. What would our lives look like if we all practice that kind of self-compassion?
Yeah, for real. Okay, how about the habit that changed his life?
Meditation and breathwork.
Oh, there it is.
Those practices that cultivate presence,
Yeah,
reduce stress, enhance well-being,
absolutely.
and finally, the law he would create for the world.
Okay, let's hear it.
5 minutes of daily self-awareness practice.
5 minutes.
5 minutes? It's a call to action. It reminds us of the transformative potential of mindfulness and introspection.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive this has been.
It has.
Rob has given us so much to think about. From reframing fear,
Yes.
harnessing the power of our why,
It's power.
embracing our true selves, and finding that balance between the inner and outer world.
That balance is key.
It's key. He showed us it is possible to achieve success while also prioritizing well-being. It doesn't have to be one or the other. And that journey of self-discovery is ongoing.
It is.
And we really do have the power to create a life
We do.
that feels aligned, authentic, and fulfilling.
As we emerge from this deep dive, we encourage you to reflect on these insights. Think about how you can apply them to your own life. What steps can you take today to connect with yourself more deeply, to cultivate greater presence and peace? Create a life that truly reflects your values and aspirations. It's a question that has fascinated philosophers and spiritual seekers for centuries, and it's one that Rob has been exploring deeply on his own journey. And you know what? His insights on this topic are incredibly thought-provoking.
Okay, I'm ready for those insights.
Yeah.
What does he have to say about uncovering that true self?
He talked about the importance of detaching from the idea of the physical body and connecting to the soul, that unchanging essence of who we are at our core.
Okay.
He believes that when we connect to that deeper self, we tap into this wellspring of peace, and we experience life in a richer, more fulfilling way.
It's like we're shifting from identifying with the temporary to connecting with the eternal.
Be connecting with the eternal, and that idea really resonates with a lot of people.
It really does. It's almost like stepping outside of the drama of our everyday lives.
Yeah.
And tapping into something much larger, more expansive.
Exactly. And it ties into that concept of oneness that we were talking about.
Right.
That idea of being part of a larger web of existence. But remember, he also highlighted the importance of duality,
Yeah, the importance of both.
recognizing that we're also unique individuals with our own distinct experiences. And he suggests it's not about choosing one over the other,
Right.
but holding both oneness and difference in balance. It's not either.
Right. Not either.
It's yes and.
It is yes and.
Embracing the paradox, the idea that we can be both individual drops in the ocean
Yeah.
and the ocean itself.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's mind-boggling, but in a really beautiful way.
It really is. And it reflects his approach to personal growth as well.
Okay.
He talks about accepting and even loving all parts of himself, the good, the bad, and everything in between. He's not trying to suppress or deny any part of himself,
Right.
but rather integrate it all into a whole authentic being.
And it's such an empowering message because it gives us permission to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
To embrace all aspects of ourselves, flaws and all. And what I also thought was really cool is how we talked about harnessing the power of his ego, using ambition and that desire for success to fuel his creative endeavors.
He recognizes that those parts of ourselves that we might consider negative can actually be assets when channeled in a positive direction.
It's about taking those perceived weaknesses and turning them into superpowers.
That's a great way to put it. And, it's also important to remember that Rob emphasizes stillness and silence in navigating this journey of self-discovery.
Yeah, absolutely.
He reminds us that it's in those quiet moments when we disconnect from the noise of the world that we can really connect with our inner wisdom and receive guidance.
So we need to create those pockets of silence to allow our inner voice to speak. And it doesn't have to be hours on end, like Rob. It could be 5 minutes of meditation, a walk in nature without our phones, or just carving out some time to be still and listen.
Exactly. But as we cultivate that inner peace, it's important to remember that personal growth isn't about escaping the world or our desires. It's about finding that healthy balance, a way to engage with the world that feels aligned and authentic.
It's like you said, we don't have to choose between success and inner peace. We can have both. And that story about finding his father's letters, it's such a great reminder that we're not alone on this journey.
And that message from his dad, courage, love, and laughter, it's a powerful guiding principle for life.
It really is. It's a reminder to approach life with an open heart and a playful spirit and the courage to pursue our dreams. And speaking of reminders, it's time to revisit Jay Shetty's rapid-fire final 5 questions.
I love these.
They distill so much wisdom into these little nuggets.
Okay, so the best advice he's ever received.
Everything is your fault.
Wow.
Now, I know that sounds a little harsh, but he really emphasizes the importance of taking ownership and recognizing that we have the power to shape our experiences.
That's about as empowering as it gets.
It really is. It's like we're not victims of circumstance, but creators of our own reality. What about the worst advice he's ever received?
Fit in with everybody else.
Ugh, yeah, no thanks. Be yourself.
Exactly, be yourself.
Okay, what about his most repeated thought?
I'm proud of you.
Oh, I love that.
Such a beautiful affirmation.
It's so simple, but so powerful. What would our lives look like if we all practiced that kind of self-compassion?
Okay, let's move on to the habit that changed his life. Meditation and breathwork.
There it is.
Those practices that cultivate presence, reduce stress, and enhance well-being.
Yes, so important. And finally, the law he would create for the world.
5 minutes of daily self-awareness practice.
5 minutes. Just 5 minutes.
A call to action reminding us of the transformative power of mindfulness and introspection.
Wow, what an incredible deep dive this has been. Rob has given us so much to think about. Reframing fear, harnessing the power of our why, embracing our true selves, and finding that balance between the inner and outer worlds.
He showed us that it's possible to achieve success while prioritizing our well-being, and reminded us that the journey of self-discovery is ongoing. We have the power to create a life that's aligned, authentic, and truly fulfilling.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we encourage you to reflect on these insights and see how you can apply them to your own life. What can you do today to connect more deeply with yourself, to cultivate a greater sense of peace, and to start creating a life that reflects your values and aspirations? Until next time, fellow deep divers, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep.